Good morning and welcome to IPC Apex Expo here in Anaheim, California. I'm delighted to welcome you to the show. It's a very, very attractive and busy looking show this year. And we're going to get straight in with our very first debate, which is going to be on regionalization, the benefits, challenges, and the progress so far. We live in a very turbulent time at the moment. There's a lot of things happening, both with supply chains and tariffs and different things happening with the new administration. So here to discuss these and how it's playing out in their regions, I have three very distinguished guests. I have to my extreme left, Soni Saran Singh, who's the President and CEO of NMtronics in India.
Thank you very much, Trevor.
Welcome, Soni. Next to him we have Gene Viner from Viner Associates in the United States, who has a long history, both in Asia, actually, with WKK, but also here with IPC, and he's a Hall of Famer here.
And also in Europe, good Abend, Dieter, and everyone out there.
Yep.
Nice to be here.
And then, of course, coming in remotely joining us from Germany, we have Dieter Weiss from Informa. So thank you very much for joining us, Dieter, and thank you for your patience. We're getting off to a little bit of a slow start this morning, but we'll get going as quickly as we can. And I want to start by really just painting the picture of how things are in each region. Each region is trying to establish an end-to-end supply chain of electronics. Some are doing it better than others. But let's start off with you, Gene, because we're in the United States. There's a lot happening here. What is the view from the industry?
It's very chaotic. We have a Department of Commerce that doesn't recognize the necessity or importance of the build-up, the stack for fabricating and making printed circuits of the supply chain. For example, the laminate or the copper foil, which will no longer be made in the U.S., Panasonic shutting down in Europe, and all prepreg for those that are pressing in the U.S. is coming for Asia. It's slapping a duty onto materials that cannot be made in America, or equipment that's used that is not made in America. It's just raising the price and not solving the issue, instead of providing incentives such as Thailand or Taiwan has done in past years.
Right. I mean, certainly that's been a problem. We lost the last copper rolling mill here in the United States just a few months ago. So it seems that they're supporting more of the semiconductor end of the business as opposed to the entire supply chain. But
This is interesting in that the government has offered seed money and attracted a lot of investment. Again, interestingly enough, it's the seed money and the attractions going mostly to foreign companies, such as TSMC and others. But on the other hand, if we make all these chips in America, they still have to be shipped back to Asia for packaging and then for mounting and then for the printed circuit boards. The United States now is producing about 4% of the world's needs of output and far less than it needs, except for defense and for medical. Europe is in a similar situation with, I believe, one of Dieter's recent reports showed around 2%. And then we just lengthen the supply chain the way things are going. We're shipping stuff back to Asia for packaging, then back here. And we're putting duties on materials that we can't make here.
Yeah. And Dieter, over there in Europe, I mean, it's a similar case in as much that, it really accounts for a very small part of the global PCB supply chain. What is your view on the European strategy towards creating an end-to-end supply chain?
Well, first of all, what we see is the only thing that is plannable is insecurity. Everybody is nervous over here because we don't know what the next moves in regards to the tariffs is, and we are already in Europe in a desperate situation, in specific in regards to the PCB, having only 2.2% of the global production over here in Europe. We are not even able to manufacture the PCBs that are needed for defense electronics ourselves. And Instead, people are sending over GABA data to the Far East, and I have heard the Far East is not our ally, and this GABA data contains IP, and I have made the point together with IPC in Brussels, but as well in Germany, to our politicians. Still, the question remains whether we're going to be heard.
Yes, no, it's certainly an issue, and in fact, there was a US general not that long ago that cited that PCBs themselves they regarded as a potential threat because they don't know what's inside them. Sonny, can you paint a picture of what's happening in India? Because as I'd said earlier, I think India seems to be doing the best job of creating an end-to-end supply chain.
Yes, Trevor, what you're saying is right. Because first, when we talk about the regionalization, we are in this industry for nearly about 3 decades. And what we see the trend here now, we have never seen this before. So this is a very recent phenomena where the entire world leaders are looking inward rather than looking outward. So each country, each region is trying to looking inward and trying to build the whole ecosystem or supply chain within the country. Earlier, people were talking about globalization, but now people are talking about the regionalization. So this is something very unique, even like I'm also experiencing and the world is also experiencing. When it comes to India, for sure, because fortunately our country leadership, our Honorable Prime Minister really considered the electronic manufacturing and the semicon business on a high priority. And government is rolling out a lot of policies, initiatives, incentives for encouraging the local companies to keep on investing it. When we talk about the electronic manufacturing, India is already quite mature. We have got a very large market for the SMT part, but when we could talk about the OSAT, we talk about the fab, we have got a lot of commitments coming from the big organization and with the different tie-ups from Japan and from Korea and even from Taiwan, and they're going to work together. Yeah. And so it is not also, we are talking about the northern part of India where we are located near to New Delhi or Bangalore. We are talking about the eastern part near to Ahmedabad where a lot of fabs are going to come in, or even the eastern part, Assam, where the Tatas are going to set up the world's largest OSAT manufacturing in next 3 years. Yeah. And they already committed, it's an open book statement, is a $3 billion they're going to invest in Assam.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's certainly, there's a lot happening in India, and you've been very successful even at attracting Chinese PCB companies to move and open up in India, and some of the support systems, copper rolling mills, etc., that you need to support that industry.
You're very right. Government identified, they put the anti-dumping duty on the import of the bare PCB, but even after 25% anti-dumping duty for the import of the bare PCB, Chinese have really dumped the prices. So, but government is taking a lot of initiative. I have seen some of the customers like Canes or even Secure Meters. They are going to make a huge investment for the bare printed circuit board manufacturing. Yeah. And even Amber Group, they already tied up with the Korea Circuits to make the HDI boards.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, Gene, the situation at the moment, of course, with tariffs, I mean, engineers in general don't like change. I mean, they hate change in the process, but the change on the business side is even worse, I think. The current Trump administration is saying that they're expecting that these tariffs are going to become reciprocal by early April. Do you think that's going to be the case and things will start to settle down? Or
how can you have reciprocal ties if you don't have the product to ship back and be a duty on? You mentioned people, a shortage of labor. One of the things that I've noticed this past year especially is that we're all aware of the shortage of skilled labor. We're all aware we're trying to entrust the young engineers into our industry to show how important it is. And a lot of us, such as myself, are graying and won't be here that much longer. But there are some between us and the young guys that are very highly skilled. They can't find work because there's no production in America. So who's employing them? China, Taiwan, Malaysia. So these guys are going to work for the Far East companies rather than here. That's only going to exacerbate the problem more. For example, if I wanted to build a factory today, not for EMS, but for bare board fabrication in America, it'll probably take me 1 or 2 years just to get all the equipment ordered and in and get it from the overseas companies that are busy supplying Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand. So it's not an overnight solution. And we're putting duty upon duty on things, material that we just can't replace here or in Germany or in the UK. It's a serious problem, especially with the skilled labor.
It's a very good point you make, because I mean, I remember back when the, in 2000 and 1999, etc., when the manufacturing started going to China, a lot of the engineers that were running the factories in Europe and in UK and places like that actually moved to Eastern Europe or moved to the other parts of the world to try and help them open up these new factories. But if we're trying to bring that manufacturing back, I think they're going to have a hard time trying to bring Chinese engineers over here to try and help get things moving over this way.
Well,
it's not going to work in reverse.
Oh, TSMC experienced some similar problem in putting in their new chip factories into the Arizona area, where the work habits were different from those of back in Taiwan and elsewhere and other places. And it's just not going to happen that easily. It's just not possible right now. What we have to do is go to look at advanced packaging and develop, not play catch-up. Playing catch-up is insanity. We have to develop new technology, and America's great for that, as is Germany and Switzerland and Japan, and take that new technology and go a step forward and bypass the conventional stuff, and meanwhile deal with the bare board situation as it is. And just remember, I'm also involved with the PCBAA, and we say chips don't float. They have to be mounted on printed circuits.
Right.
But advanced packaging may be able to bypass it. I just saw recently at an IEEE meeting back east on a foundry in a box that has application and putting us a step forward. And I look forward to Silicon Systems approach here at the IPC, which will be Thursday morning. So I say we have to bypass it. We have to find a way of dealing with what's there. But then the other question comes up, everyone's looking at China plus one. China plus one? Is it China into Hong Kong, change the label and ship it? Is it Chinese building in Thailand or India? China plus one? Is it Mexico? Mexico's being slammed with tariffs too. They don't even make printed circuits down there. They do assembly.
Yeah, China's plus one, that's a different topic altogether, but I mean, companies are looking for basically neutral countries, or countries that are not quite so badly affected between the trade disputes between US and China. Dieter, if I can come back to you for a moment, what's the situation regarding the training of young engineers and systems programs in Europe, and what's the labour shortages like in the factories there?
Well, first of all, with the market downturn in 2024, we have seen a lot of layoffs specifically in the EMS industry, due to the fact that companies are trying to reduce costs. Other than that, everybody is still complaining about a lack of proper personnel. See, they're looking for people who are going the last mile as well, who are not just looking for an 8 to 5 job, who are motivated to do a proper job and brings the company together with his colleagues forward. And it looks as if the young generation seems to be less motivated, but I still think they can be motivated, and the motivation should not be money, but the fact that we are working in a high-tech industry, which is so complex, so interesting, but we need to bring the message forward to them.
Okay. Okay. So over here in India, I mean, you're basically a country that's expanding at the moment rapidly. So there's a big demand for more labour. How is India addressing the labour shortages?
Actually, there are no shortages of the labor. Let me also say for India. India is probably a country which produces the largest number of the graduate engineers in the world. But the problem in India is skill development. These engineers coming out of the colleges, they are not like a plug and play in the industry. So industry and the government are working very hard, developing opening up various skill development centers where these engineers, besides the academic knowledge, they should have the skills which can be, because we as a company, we as an industry, we are always looking for the engineers having a perfect combination of a knowledge and the skill.
Yeah.
The Indian engineers or Indian education system is more academic based, but they don't have the practical experience. So this is what our government has already identified as a big gap, and we are working very hard. The government is also working very hard. Even NMtronics also, we have opened the skill development center in one of the IITs, IIT Kanpur. So we have NMtronics Center of Excellence in skill development for the electronic manufacturing. It's a very unique program where we are really inviting the fresh employees or fresh engineers from the college, give them a specific training so that once they have a diploma or a certificate program, they can get a good job in the company.
Yes, I think that's important, and I think actually they still do it in Germany in a big way, where the engineers have to go through a certain amount of practical training, and then they go back to university again, and they get real mentorship really on the factory floor. I think that's important, and that's something that we need to perhaps introduce also here in the United States. I had an interview yesterday with Dave Hillman and Doug Pauls from formerly from Collins Aerospace, and they have a fantastic mentorship program, for young engineers coming through. But it's not something that's generally practiced industry wide in the U.S.
Well, the IPC has a great mentorship program, and several have graduated, moved into the industry with jobs that were recently featured in the IPC Community Magazine. They're establishing chapters in various universities. We've taken students and put them on our board of directors to see how things operate and being mentored. Many of our member companies, such as a Summit Interconnect, which is here, have students in their mentoring. I'm sure TTM does it, and the others. And we're trying to increase the mentoring through the IPC as well as our member companies. This is one of it's next best thing to the apprenticeships which you get in Europe. Yeah. But it has to be done.
Okay.
We're doing this, for example, at UMass Lowell.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, we're living in an industry with a lot of moving parts at the moment. Both, the supply chain, the labour issues, the tariffs, the technology itself is changing rapidly as well. It's certainly a period of change, and a lot of people are sitting still at the moment because they don't quite know which way it's going to end up. But it's going to be a debate that's going to be ongoing for a long, long time. And I want to thank you, gentlemen, for coming in and talking about it with us today. And apologies once again for getting off to a slow start, but we'll be catching up from here. So thank you very much, Dieter in Germany, for joining us. Thank you to Sony Sanan Singh from NMtronics, and of course to Gene Weiner from Weiner Associates.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our audience for watching today.
Thank you.